You've seen them in the movies. A car launches off a bridge, lands perfectly, and drives away without a scratch. But have you ever wondered why that never happens in real life? Today we're counting down 10 so-called features that could only work on the big screen. Some look shockingly believable, some defy basic physics, and others completely ignore real-world engineering limits. From impossible stunts to outrageous tech, by the end, you'll never look at a movie car chase the same way again. Number 1, self-driving cars with perfect AI. Imagine sitting in a car that can read every situation perfectly. It spots a stray dog before it even rounds the corner, reacts to a sudden cyclist swerving into traffic, and threads through a chaotic street fair without hesitation. In movies, that's not a fantasy. It's normal. From Knight Rider's KITT to modern action thrillers, the AI-powered car is a flawless driver, capable of outsmarting veterans behind the wheel and avoiding every possible hazard. In real life, the opposite is true when the road throws something unexpected. Humans pick up on subtle cues, a child leaning forward before crossing, the twitch of a driver's wheel in the next lane. Automation is still learning how to read those hints. Actual self-driving systems depend on clearly painted road markings, layers of LiDAR and radar scanning, and GPS mapping to stay oriented. Yet on screen, they whip around unmarked dirt tracks or through flaming debris without missing a turn. The limits come down to physics and processing. Sensors can be blinded by heavy rain or snow. High glare can confuse cameras. Even the best AI needs fractions of a second to make decisions at high speed, long enough to turn precision into disaster. Some automakers promise leaps forward soon, but we're far from the movie version. For now, a perfect AI driver exists only on screen, and the human in the seat is still the ultimate safeguard. Something films conveniently forget when it comes to pushing performance past what's actually possible. Number 2, infinite nitro boost. In the Fast and Furious world, nitrous oxide is practically magic. A driver hits the button, and suddenly the car rockets forward like it just unlocked a secret reserve of endless horsepower. They tap it again minutes later, then again during the same chase, as if the supply never runs out. There's no pause, no refills, and no mechanical consequences, just cinematic speed on demand. In reality, nitrous oxide is a very finite tool. Tanks are pressurized and typically hold enough for only a few short bursts. In competitive racing, spray time is measured in seconds, not minutes, because each use rapidly drains the supply. And those seconds come at a cost. Forcing more oxygen into the combustion chamber raises cylinder pressure and combustion temperature. That heat spike can warp cylinder heads, melt pistons, and shred gaskets if used without caution. Here's the science. By adding extra oxygen, nitrous lets the engine burn more fuel, which makes more power. But engines aren't designed to handle that strain indefinitely. Continuous spraying would push internal temperatures beyond safe limits in under a minute, leading to catastrophic failure. Has anyone ever managed a true movie NOS run? Even drag racers plan nitrous use for precise moments, and tanks need refilling after just a few pulls. On the street or track, there's nothing infinite about it, something Hollywood tends to forget when it comes to showing what cars can survive. Before we move on, I would like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 3, bulletproof glass that never breaks. In spy films, bulletproof windshields are almost mythical. Take the Aston Martin DB5 from the Bond series. It shrugs off bullets as though they're no more than raindrops. Round after round hits the glass, and somehow it stays flawlessly clear without a single crack. It's a great visual, but it's not how ballistic glass behaves in reality. True bullet-resistant windows do exist, but they rely on layers of thick glass and polycarbonate to absorb and spread the force of an impact. Each strike disrupts those layers, creating spiderweb cracks or clouded spots almost immediately. Those imperfections don't wipe away. They permanently reduce visibility, which is why even heavily armored vehicles can't keep their glass in pristine condition after multiple hits. Even the most secure convoys in the world, like presidential limousines, change out damaged panels after incidents. The materials do their job by stopping the projectile, but each hit weakens the overall integrity and clarity of the window. You won't find a set of never breaks glass that can take endless punishment without consequences. Movies also skip over the hidden drawback. Weight. Bullet-resistant glass can be several inches thick and weigh a few hundred extra pounds. That bulk slows acceleration, affects handling, and requires reinforced hinges just to support the doors. On screen, though, armored cars handle like sports coupes, until the next scene sends them somewhere no real car could ever operate. Number 4. Underwater driving mode. Who wouldn't want a car that can cruise down the road one moment and glide under the sea the next? In The Spy Who Loved Me, the Lotus Esprit, S1 doesn't just splash into the water, it transforms instantly into a sleek submarine, complete with working propellers and weapons. It's a scene built for pure spectacle, but turning a sports car into a functioning sub is far from a quick button press. A gasoline engine can't operate submerged without drastic changes to its air intake, exhaust, and cooling systems. Sealing the cabin against water pressure is another challenge. Any leak becomes a flooding hazard. The few submarine cars that exist are slow, custom-built prototypes, often powered by electric motors and sealed housings. Even then, they need precise buoyancy adjustments to avoid sinking too fast or floating uncontrollably. Then there's the problem of air. Passengers would need an onboard supply, and electronics would have to be fully waterproof and corrosion-resistant. Salt water, in particular, aggressively eats away at metal and wiring, meaning maintenance costs skyrocket. Transitioning between land and water in the real world would take minutes or hours of preparation, not the seamless 2-second switch shown on screen. The truth is, an underwater mode makes for iconic movie moments, but the engineering compromises make it impractical for any normal road car, unlike the gravity-defying recoveries Hollywood shows next. Number 5. Instant flip and roll recovery. In big-budget chase scenes, it's almost expected. The hero's car launches off a ramp, flips through the air several times, slams down on all 4 wheels, and keeps going like nothing happened. It's thrilling to watch, but the real-world outcome of a high-speed rollover is rarely survivable, let alone drivable. In reality, the odds of walking away from such a crash without serious injury are low, and the car itself would be far from operational. The moment a vehicle rolls, the suspension arms can snap, axles can bend, and wheels may no longer align with the frame. The radiator and hoses often tear loose, dumping coolant onto the pavement. Airbags almost always deploy, limiting driver visibility, and fuel or oil leaks become immediate fire hazards. Even a single roll can distort the chassis enough that doors won't open properly, let alone multiple rotations. On movie sets, these miracle recoveries are carefully crafted with roll cages that keep the stunt driver safe, hidden ramps that determine the spin, and post-roll editing to cut out the damage or swap cars entirely. The vehicle driving away in the next shot might not even be the same one that took the hit. Could a regular production car pull this off? Number after a real rollover, especially at the speed shown on screen, the only option is a tow truck, not a dramatic acceleration into the next action sequence. And that leads straight into the next strain of Hollywood's indestructible car fantasies. Number 6. Explosions that don't damage the car. In action films, explosions are more like stage effects than actual destruction. You'll see a car drop into a roaring fireball, vanish in a cloud of orange flames, and then roll out seconds later without a single dent or scorch mark. It's a staple of chase sequences and superhero escapes. But it doesn't line up with what real heat would do to a vehicle. The temperature inside those movie-style blasts would exceed 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, aluminum panels begin to melt, paint vaporizes, and plastic trim drips away in seconds. Electrical systems fry almost instantly because wiring insulation can't handle that kind of heat. Tires would blow from the sudden temperature spike, and any fuel in the system becomes an immediate ignition risk. On set, the reason cars can survive is simple. Most of the time, they aren't functional cars at all. Stunt coordinators position smaller controlled charges or ignite fuel in a way that sends the flames outward for the camera. The heat and debris often shoot away from the vehicle rather than into it. Frequently, what you see driving out of the smoke is a completely different car swapped in between takes. Those indestructible escapes make for great shots, but a real explosion leaves a vehicle totaled inside seconds. And yet, Hollywood still finds ways to bend reality, sometimes starting with what they claim you can fit inside the car itself. Number 7. Trunk full of endless gear. In spy films, the trunk isn't just storage, it's a bottomless arsenal. James Bond pops it open and somehow has a shotgun, scuba gear, a grappling hook, and a full electronics kit all laid out like a display case. Action heroes always seem to have exactly what they need, exactly when they need it, no matter how much space it should take up. The real limitation is physics. A sports coupe like a Porsche 911 has a front trunk smaller than a carry-on suitcase, about 4 cubic feet. That's barely enough for a small duffel bag, let alone scuba tanks or a full toolkit. Even mid-size sedans run out of room quickly once you start adding bulkier items, and weight adds another problem. Overloading a car's cargo area shifts its balance, increases braking distances, and can make cornering unstable. So how do films make it seem endless? Set designers and prop teams swap items between shots, sometimes removing one piece to make room for the next without the audience noticing. Clever camera angles hide the fact that everything was staged just for that moment. In many cases, the trunk you see on screen isn't even part of the real car. It's a mock-up shell with false panels, built purely for filming. On screen, the space is limitless. Off-screen, fitting that much in one real trunk would mean leaving half of it behind. Something movie logic never worries about as it moves into the next illusion of automotive perfection. Number 8, silent electric speeding. In films, high-speed chases with electric cars look almost surreal. You watch an EV close in on its target at 150 miles per hour, and the only sound you hear is the faint hum of music or dialogue. The car itself glides like a ghost, the silence making it feel even more unstoppable. It's clean, sleek, and completely unrealistic. In reality, the absence of an engine rumble doesn't mean the car is silent. At speeds beyond 70 miles per hour, wind resistance begins to roar. Air rushing over mirrors, body panels, and gaps creates a constant, high-pitched hiss that only gets louder as speed climbs. Add to that the sound of tires grinding against the pavement, especially high-performance tires with aggressive tread, and the peaceful movie illusion disappears fast. That combination produces noise levels that are more like a small turbine than a whisper, often surprising people who assume EVs are whisper quiet in all situations. Aerodynamics guarantee it. No matter how well a car is shaped, cutting through air at triple-digit speeds generates turbulence, and turbulence makes noise. Even luxury EVs engineered for quiet cruising can't mute the natural physics of motion. In fact, engineers spend countless hours in wind tunnels trying to reduce, but never fully eliminate, these sounds. There's a reason every real high-speed run in an electric car comes with a loud rush in the cabin, sometimes making conversation difficult without shouting. On screen, though, directors mute those sounds so dialogue and music take center stage, creating a false calm before the chaos, something that's also common when movies depict high-speed police takedowns. This deliberate choice is all about immersion for the viewer, even if it means sacrificing realism. Number 9. Perfect pit maneuvers at 100 miles per hour. In movies, police cruisers make 100-mile-per-hour pit maneuvers look like precision choreography. A quick tap to the rear quarter panel, and the fleeing car spins neatly into a ditch without injury or collateral damage. It feels surgical, but the technique doesn't work that way outside of choreographed action scenes. Real pit maneuvers are trained for speeds under 40 miles per hour in controlled conditions. At those speeds, there's enough time for the pursuing driver to manage steering input, road position, and recovery while minimizing risk. Once speeds push into triple digits, momentum multiplies. The force needed to unsettle the target car is far greater, and the reaction time for both drivers drops to fractions of a second. Physics takes over. Tires lose grip instantly, bodies lurch sideways, and suspension components strain under abrupt lateral forces. Real incidents of high-speed pit attempts have led to vehicles rolling violently, colliding with other traffic, or striking fixed objects. Injuries in such cases are often severe, and fatalities are a real risk. Even highly skilled pursuit officers know that at these speeds, the line between a controlled maneuver and a catastrophic accident is razor thin. On film sets, the perfect 100 miles per hour pit is a trick of the trade. Stunt coordinators use wire rigs, precision driving teams, or even CGI to choreograph and smooth out the spin. The camera sees control. The reality would be chaos. Viewers don't see the numerous practice runs, the safety crews standing by, or the editing magic that hides imperfections. At freeway speed, a PIT wouldn't create elegant arcs. It would create wreckage, something often ignored when Hollywood moves on to its next impossible in-car feat. But for cinematic purposes, the audience gets the cleaner version, free from the messy consequences of real-world physics. Number 10, hacking any system from the dashboard. In movies, a driver can sit in traffic, tap a few icons on their dashboard screen, and suddenly every light turns green. Seconds later, they've rerouted an entire city grid or even unlocked a bank's vault, all without looking away from the road. It's fast, clean, and completely free of anything that looks like real computer work. Vehicle infotainment systems in reality are carefully locked down. They run in sandboxed environments, meaning they're isolated from the car's critical control systems, and even more so from outside infrastructure. These firewalls exist because a genuine breach could be dangerous, but that same design makes instant hack scenes pure fiction. Hacking something like a city's traffic light network isn't a matter of clicking one button. It requires specialized hardware, direct or remote network access, and often physical proximity to key components. Even then, the process can take hours or days and involves complex coding rather than flashy progress bars. The well-known Jeep Cherokee hacking case in 2015, a remote takeover that grabbed headlines, took months of research to exploit deep vulnerabilities, and it still had serious limitations. Despite that, films make it feel plausible. The pacing of an action scene leaves no time for the messy reality of finding exploits, bypassing security protocols, and avoiding detection. Real dashboards can't commandeer city infrastructure on command. It's a cinematic shortcut that keeps the action moving, perfectly in line with the fantasy world where movie cars face no real engineering limits. And that fantasy works because most viewers aren't thinking about network security when the hero is in danger. They're thinking about the getaway. Movie cars aren't built on engineering, they're built on storytelling. Every impossible stunt, indestructible feature, or limitless upgrade exists to serve the scene, not the science. That's why the chase feels smoother, the tech seems faster, and the crashes look survivable, even when none of it could work in the real world. But that's part of why these moments are so fun to watch. They bend reality until it suits the story, leaving us with visuals that stick long after the credits. Now that you know what's possible and what's pure fantasy, rewatching them becomes a different game. Spotting the illusion, catching the small tricks, and realizing how often our favorite moments are built from equal parts creativity, danger, and make-believe.